I'm Brittney Sundquist. I'm a painter and artist in Oakland, California. This city has helped reshape my art into what it is. I am a realist painter. I focus on the female form and erotic poses of women in stances of empowerment. Portraits in particular that emphasize the female form, eroticism, and women being in power of their bodies, no matter how their bodies look. Mohawks, curves, no curves, dark skin, light skin. I try to incorporate all different types of forms, but mainly strong. I came across art honestly. My father is a musician, he's a bass player, and he's been playing in bands throughout my entire life. Punk bands namely, and he had worked really hard to make sure that I wasn't censored from music and from art from an early age. So a lot of that has been reflected in the work that I'm making today, and I think is a reflection of how my work isn't censored, how I emphasize things that might not be comfortable to look at for some, and erotic imagery in a lot of ways speaks to boundaries that we have. My art is a facet of the conversation. I think that it's important for us to be talking about, especially in these trying times, to be talking about what our bodies mean and how we feel in them, how we want to express ourselves sexually, individually, and how we want to bring that into our communities. I had my first art show in Santa Cruz, California about 3 years ago, and it was a really fun and poignant time in my life. I had just started painting and taking pictures of my friends and painting them in a big notebook that I had. One of my good buddies came over to my house and saw the paintings and really liked what she saw. She was managing a show on the main strip in Santa Cruz called Camouflage, which is actually an erotic lingerie and sex toy shop. And she had asked if I would be willing to put up art as their main First Friday artist 2 months from then. So I very quickly agreed, realizing that I finally had a chance to make this dream of artistry come true in a serious way. So I had 2 months to decide how I was going to define my style, come up with a collection, and do something that I would be proud of without ever having painted on canvas before. My work is an ode to the women in my family. It's an ode to the strong women who came before me. It is a reflection upon women in art. 100 years ago, women wouldn't be able to be artists in any way like I am now. 100 years ago, the only females who were artists were women in the bourgeoisie, women in places of power and immense monetary standings, and a lot of them had fathers who were painters. So to come and be a self-taught young female artist, to have access to supplies, to paint these overtly erotic images like I do, I feel lucky to live in a world where I have those opportunities. I'm influenced by a lot of things. I'm influenced by music, namely the bass music scene in California has offered me a lot of space to grow and has also given me spaces to explore my art by allowing me to paint live at events and to paint at festivals. My friends throw an event called Wormhole Wednesdays, which is a space where community and artists, like-minded artists and people come together to share their crafts. There's a multitude of live painters, and being a part of that community gave me a space where I was able to push my work and come to create something new, something different each week to share. My process first begins, I take photographs. So I'll find things that inspire me as I'm walking around, as I'm surfing the web, talking to friends. I like to take pictures of my friends as much as possible for my work. And I'm also inspired by the kink scene. as I think that there's something really potent and beautiful to be said about releasing yourself sexually in terms of the shibari rope work that I'm painting, and showing women in these vulnerable, seemingly vulnerable spaces, however they're in complete control. And there isn't a lot of discussion about open sexuality and kink within our mainstream media at all. So to open these dialogues through pieces of work, I think is important. It's a blessing to see how far I've come. A few years later, having art shows pretty frequently throughout the Bay Area and considering myself an artist first and foremost, and knowing that I have a space in my community and that I'm not just an artist in the community, but an artist for my community, speaking out against things that we don't talk about and holding space for us to have conversations about women's bodies, about sex, about respect, about consent, just through these images.